For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson. Now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford, who does amazing work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to be diving in, talking about what we've all seen here in the first 2.5 or so months of the season, some of the teams that he's really starting to feel bullish/bearish on, and then we're going to be diving in on a lot of these games that we're going to be getting on Sunday in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday, as we do touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And hey, we did get a Twitter/X question today. This comes from one of the good folks that follows me, John May, and he was asking if unders are starting to get dangerous with hot weather across the country. It's very much a situation-by-situation sort of scenario, like in Wrigley Field. If you have a 90-degree day, but the wind is blowing in 20 miles per hour, yeah, that 90 degrees, that might make things a little bit more humid, but if the wind is blowing in at 20 miles per hour, yeah, that's very much going to be a, shall we say, pitcher-friendly sort of day. But if the wind is blowing out, like what we've been seeing over the weekend, then it's very much to the benefit of the hitter. It's something that you do want to be taking into account, but it's not an end-all, be-all. Like, you can't go from a total of thinking like, oh, this should be like an 8 or something like that under normal temperatures. It gets warm and all of a sudden you're jacking it up to a 10.5. Then you probably went a little bit too far, but maybe you take that 8 to an 8.5. So I do think that's something that you want to be mindful of, but you want to be utilizing it as one of very many different things. The bullpen usage, the starting pitching, just the situation in general, the ballpark that you're in as well. So there's a lot of things going down, and like if we see a heat wave out there in Toronto, well, they typically play indoors. They typically have the roof closed, not all the time, but I mean, when you have like a closed roof in some of these places as well, that always factors in too. So there's a lot of different things, but certainly something to be mindful of. Everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure that bettors are able to access the funds that they are so rightfully deserving of at any time of day, that you're able to earn cashback rewards as you utilize Edge Boost. And go to edgeboost.bet and type in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit of up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball late on Friday and on Saturday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Did have to cut you guys short a little bit on Friday, as we need to get this up a tad bit earlier, but in terms of the late Friday games, and do have to do this before the show cashing out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, so this is being recorded more around about 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern to be able to carry that out. So not going to be able to give you guys a lot of the Saturday late results, but we'll give you guys a Friday, as we did see the Arizona Diamondbacks restore order, and after the Rockies had covered, I believe, 5 straight run lines, they took it to them 14-8 with Zach Gallen certainly filling it up. 7 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a pair of bombs. Going deep for Colorado, Ryan McMahon, 12th home run season. Mickey Moniak is 10th, but Austin Gomber gets gombered up. 9 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, including a trio of bombs. And Eugenio Suarez, 23rd and 24th home runs of the campaign. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 13th home run season, and Ilyarmo Vargas was able to go deep for his first. And then from there, Ryan Rolson gives up 2 runs in an inning. Juan Mejia, 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Anthony Molina gives up a run in his inning of work. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen, not too bad. You had Jalen Beeks come in for a scoreless inning. Kyle Bacchus does give up a run in an inning, but Juan Murillo and Kevin Ginkel both led to scoreless inning. For the San Francisco Giants, they lose on Friday, but then they atoned for that on Saturday. On Friday, 7-5, they fell as at Hunter Dobbins give up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in his 4 innings, and then from there, the Giants couldn't do anything else as Hayden Birdsong, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, give it up in 4 1/3 innings, did allow a home run in this game to one Mr. David Hamilton, 3rd home run of the campaign, and Ceddanne Rafaela, 7th home run season off of Sean Hegelet, which apparently he's having some things in his personal life coming about. I'll let you decide how you want to search for that, but Hegelet gives up a solo run in his inning of work. Eric Miller was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Joey Lucchesi gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning, but Ryan Walker 1 2/3 inning scoreless. Spencer Bivens, 8 scoreless inning, and for Boston, Brandon Bernardino, Justin Wilson, Garrett Whitlock, Aroldis Chapman, all into scoreless innings. Zach Kelly and Greg Weiser, they combined for a scoreless inning, but then on Saturday, you did see the Giants get a 3-2 win with Refael Devers' first home run as a San Francisco Giant, his 16th home run overall of the campaign, as that comes off of Brian Bayo, who gave up 3 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings, including another home run, this one to one Eloy Ramos, 13th home run season, and Landon Roop, rock solid, 6 scoreless innings. Randy Rodriguez, Tyler Rogers, both led to scoreless inning. Camilo Duvall does give up 2 runs in an inning of work, and for Boston, you did have scoreless innings from Mr. Oriel Cala and Luis Guerrero, but the Giants, they do find a way to polish that one up, get the job done, and also being able to get the job done. The LA Dodgers 6-5 though over the Washington Nationals. If you took the run line, the Dodgers were up 6-2 going into the 7th inning, and then there were some runs let up by the bullpen as Mackenzie Gore did get gored, giving up 6 runs, 5 of which were earned in 5 2/3 innings, including a home run. Going deep was Mr. Miguel Rojas, 3rd home run of the campaign, and Clayton Kershaw, 2 solo home runs allowed in his 5 innings of work, as you had Ahmed Rosario get his 4th home run of the campaign, and then Riley Adams, his 3rd home run of the season. CJ Abrams in the 9th inning off of Tanner Scott, who has not been good. 10th home run season. Tanner Scott gives up a solo run in his inning work as Jack Dreyer, scoreless inning. Alex Vesia, 2 runs given up in 2/3 of an inning before Kirby Yates gets it out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Washington Nationals, you did have Jackson Rutledge, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and Eduardo Salazar. He was able to come in and he gave the team a scoreless inning, but this is something that I've tracked quite a bit for the LA Dodgers. They have now had 13 wins by 1 run. The last 2 years, they had a combined 37. So they are really starting to win a lot more 1-run games this season. Typically, they just blow teams out. And for the A's, we have seen a lot of overs for them thus far this season. Unsure of how the game for Saturday went, but on Friday, a very rare under out there in Sacramento. And for the A's, entering into Saturday, 42 overs, 30 unders, and 6 pushes. Only the Dodgers have played more overs than them. 5-1, they were able to get the job done in this one. As for the Athletics, you had a good start out of Jeffrey Springs, solo home run allowed in 7 1/3 innings, as you had Anel Martinez get his 5th home run in the campaign, and Tanner Bybee actually fills all 8 innings, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. He got 10 strikeouts and he gave up a home run. Going deep was Nick Kurtz, his 10th home run season. You had from there Mike Kelly give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless for the A's, and Mason Miller a scoreless inning, but 5 runs allowed in a game in which he completed. Wow, you don't see that. And for the Kansas City Royals, they get a 6-5 win over the Slam Diego Padres. Royals have been dead last in the American League in terms of runs per game, but they did a nice job getting into Nick Pivetta here. 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Did give up a pair of bombs. Jonathan India, 4th home run of the season. Bobby Witt Jr., his 10th from there. Wandy Peralta, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jason Adam does give up 2 runs in an inning. Rarity there. Sean Reynolds, David Morgan, both under scoreless inning, and Manny Machado in the 9th inning off of Carlos Aceves, 12th home run of the campaign. As for Michael Lorenzen, solid start, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Anel Zerpa, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Ursich gives up those 2 runs, a home run in his inning of work, but Steven Cruz, a scoreless inning, and then Carlos Aceves actually give up that home run. Not Mr. Ursich, but they do find a way to get the job done. And for the Astros, in 10 innings, they do take it to the LA Angels, 3-2 the final. Hunter Brown continues to be pretty spectacular. Solo run allowed in 5 innings as Joe Adele sets fire to the rain. 16th home run of the campaign, and then you got more from Mr. Morris. It was the first career home run for Christian Morris. He's able to go deep off of Brian King. King gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings of work, but you had John Dubin give you an out of the bullpen. Brian Abreu, Josh Hader, Bennett Sosa, all lend a scoreless inning. And then for the Angels on Friday, Reed Detmers was able to give you a scoreless inning along Kenley Jansen. Yusei Kikuchi, I say, gave up a pair of solo home runs in his 7 innings of work as Isaac Paredes gets a 16th home run season. Jeremy Pena is 10th, and then Hunter Strickland allows an unearned run on a wild pitch in the 10th inning. So had a lot of intrigue out there. And then looking at what you all got on Saturday, the Rays were able to take it to the Detroit Tigers 8-3, as the Rays are really putting their foot down right now. For the Tigers, starting to go through a little bit of a funk. Brent Hurd, the opener, 4 unearned runs allowed in his 2/3 of an inning of work. I thought that was very interesting, as I think that there was a pass ball that was very costly. From there, Sawyer Gipson-Long, he gives up 3 home runs, 4 runs in total in 6 1/3 innings. Rays now a top 10 team with regards to runs per game, as going deep for them, you had Danny Jansen get his 7th home run of the season, Christopher Morel is 6th, and then Junior Caminero, 18th home run of the season. Then you had a scoreless inning from Mr. Smith and Dylan Smith, and for the Tampa Bay Rays, this was pretty rock solid from Ryan Pepiot, 1 run allowed in 5 innings. Did have Mason Montgomery give up 2 unearned runs in his 1/3 of an inning of work, but you had Kevin Kelly give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Paul Gavassi, hopefully I said that correct, 2 scoreless innings in his MLB debut, and had a lot of scoreless innings from the Milwaukee Brewers. 9-0 the final. Game goes under despite the fact that the Brewers put up a 9 spot. They're actually second in the league in terms of runs per game on the road. They're averaging nearly 2 more runs per game on the road than at home, and Jose Quintana was tremendous. 6 scoreless innings despite only 1 strikeout and 4 walks. Grant Anderson, a scoreless inning. Aaron Ashby, 2 scoreless innings. And for the Brewers, no home runs. They just did a lot of small ball and moving the line, as Simeon was Richardson. He gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 6 innings. Cole Sands, Pound Sands, 1 2/3 innings, 5 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up by him. Brock and Roll Stewart, a scoreless inning, and Louis Varland, and out of the bullpen scoreless. And then the New York Yankees finally get online. It's been a rough week for them, but 9-0, they take it to the Baltimore Orioles, and Zach Eflin, pretty Eflin awful. 6 runs allowed in 3 innings, including a trio bomb. Says you did have Mr. Ben Rice get his 13th home run of the season. You had Trent Grisham get home run number 15 of the season, and J.C. Ascara, he was a scary 2nd home run of the season. Then off of Andrew Kittredge for Anthony Volpe, his 9th home run in the campaign. Kittredge gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in his 2 innings of work. Scott blew it. He sort of blew it, gave up a run in an inning. Yunior Canoe scoreless inning, and then you had Luis Vasquez, the backup shortstop, give you a scoreless inning. And for the New York Yankees, Clark Schmidt was tremendous, 7 scoreless innings. And then J.T. Brubaker, he was able to end 2 scoreless innings as well. You had the St. Louis Cardinals rally against the Cincinnati Reds, this by kind of 6-5. Wade Miley placed on the injured list, so it was a bullpen game for the Reds. Brent Suter gives up 2 runs in his 2 innings of work, including a home run. Going deep for the St. Louis Cardinals was Alec Burleson, 8th home run in the campaign. And then for Nolan Arenado, in the 9th inning, he forces extra innings by being able to get his 10th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Emilio Pagan, and it was a Pagan. He got 4 strikeouts for his 4 outs, but he gave up the home run. Tony Santillan, 2/3 of an inning, he gives up 2 runs, but Ryan Richardson, Nick Martinez both lend 2 scoreless innings. Ian Gabo, a scoreless inning. Scott Barlow in the 10th inning, a scoreless inning, and then Chase Petty has to come in the 11th, gives up the unearned run that ends the game. As for the Reds, 1 of 15 with men in scoring position, and Sonny Gray was fine, gave up 1 run in 5 innings, and then Steven Matz had a calamity as he gives up a home run to Ellie De La Cruz. 17th home run of the campaign, 3 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. And then you had a run given up in 1 2/3 innings by Andre Granillo. From there, the St. Louis Cardinals put it on lockdown. Ryan Helsley, Phil Matone, a scoreless inning, and John King was the king of being able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless for the Chicago Cubs. One of the better over teams in all baseball, 38 overs, 31 unders, and 7 pushes. And boy, was this overwhelming. How about 10-7? They take it to the Seattle Mariners for Emerson Hancock. That's an ERA booster. 9 runs allowed in 4 innings, and he gave up 4 bombs. Going deep for the Chicago Cubs, you had Ian Apples twice, 10th and 11th home runs of the campaign. Kyle Tucker's 14th home run of the season. Michael Busch, his 12th home run of the season. Then off of Zach Pop, Pete Crow Armstrong, 21st home run of the season. Pop got popped for that solo home run in his inning of work. To the crowd, Trent Thornton, 2 1/3 innings scoreless, and Casey Lugumina, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Cal Raleigh, league leading 30th home run of the season. That comes off of Daniel Palencias. For Cade Horton, well, he was here in a who in terms of the bad fielding out there. Vidal Brujan did not do him any solids. 6 runs, but only 3 of which weren't given up in 4 2/3 innings. Drew Pomeranz out of the bullpen scoreless. Caleb Theobar, Brad Keller combined for 3 scoreless innings, and then Palencia gives up that home run in his inning of work. For the other Chicago team, not so great. The Toronto Blue Jays absolutely laying bases the White Sox by a count of 7-1, and for Aaron Savali, he did get lit up in this one. He gives up 5 runs over the course of 7 innings, including a pair of bombs. From there, you would have a inning of work from Jacob Polish. Hopefully I said that correct. He gives up 2 runs along the way. And for the Blue Jays, going deep, Vlad Guerrero Jr., 10th home run season. Bo Bichette, his 11th, and Jose Barrios, 1 unearned run given up in 7 2/3 innings. From there, Uriel Rodriguez, and out of the bullpen scoreless, and Chad Green was able to give you a scoreless inning. So good job by the Chad. By the way, going back to the Brewers, now 29 overs, 29 overs, 45 unders, and 3 pushes. So they've been a very underwhelming team. Another team has been underwhelming is the New York Mets. As I'm recording this, they're currently up by a count of 4-3, middle of the game against the Philadelphia Phillies, and they've had Griffin Canning give up 3 runs in the first 4 innings, and they've been able to hit a trio bombs off of Mr. Mick Abel. Juan Soto, 15th home run season. Brandon Nimmo twice, so actually 4 home runs off of him. Home runs 14 and 15 of the campaign, and Francisco Lindor is 15th. Abel was only able to last 3 innings, giving up 4 runs, so the Phillies bullpen has been called into action there, and for the Atlanta Braves, they were called into action to hold down the Miami Marlins. 7-0 the final. Drake Baldwin does get his 8th home run of the campaign. That comes against the bullpen after Erie Perez gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Josh Simpson gave up the home run. 4 runs, 3 of which weren't given up in 2 innings, and Lake Bakar 2 1/3 innings scoreless, but for the Marlins, nothing doing as they go 1 of 9 with men in scoring position. Grant Holmes, 5 walks, 5 hits allowed in 5 2/3 innings, but 0 runs. Angel de los Santos, Rafael Montero, both on a scoreless inning, and Dylan Lee was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And then the Texas Rangers, your best under team in all of baseball, 25 overs, 51 unders, and a push. They get another under, 3-2. They take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kumar Rocker, solid start, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Chris Martin, Sean Armstrong, led a scoreless inning, and Hobie Milner, 1 2/3 innings scoreless for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller, now 1-10 this season, despite a 4.02 ERA. Deserves a little bit better. 3 runs over to earn in 5 2/3 innings. Carmen Molodzinski, 2 1/3 innings scoreless, and Dennis Santana was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. And also, as I'm doing this, Padres currently up by a count of 2-1, middle of the game against the Kansas City Royals. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, last 30 days, it has been very interesting. Quite a few unders, 203 unders, so 181 overs. But if you take a look at the last 7 days, with things heating up out there in Major League Baseball, we're starting to see a few more overs, 45 unders, 43 overs, so that's more of a 51% hit rate through the under. And if you're looking at the money line favorites, doing pretty solid, 54 and 36 over the last 7 days. And if you're looking overall for the season, hitting at 58%, 658 and 476 on the money line. Meanwhile, the overall under 8 this season, 53%, 581 unders to 516 overs. So that's where we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we all got on Saturday/late Friday. Coming up next, how about if we do talk with one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast. I work about teams he's filling, Bulls/Bears on, and Sunday's games right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as Dylan Rockford. He does a tremendous job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Does a little bit of everything. On top of his baseball work, he does great work with X Kicks Picks. That's taking a look at all that we've got with the fight game. On top of the Sports Gambling Podcast as well, he does the Dream Wager and does a tremendous job on that front as well. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Rock with 2Ks, the number 24 altogether. And Dylan, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Always good to be with you.
It's always great to have you aboard. And Dylan, first things first, have there been just a few surprises that you've seen in baseball this far this season? Because now we've cleared north of 2.5 months in baseball. Now we've got a good understanding of these teams, and no longer is it like, and air quotes, you're too early to be able to make assumptions, in my opinion. So what has just really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think there's enough sample size, first 2 months going on 3 months now of sample size, where teams are going to show you who they truly are. And, I think last time we were on the pod, I was on your podcast, we were talking about the AL East and how the Yankees were kind of just running away with it. Not so fast. The Tampa Bay Rays might be the best team the last 3 weeks to a month. They're on fire. They're a game and a half back. I mean, honestly, Toronto's been hot as well. They're 3 games back. I really don't understand what Boston's doing trading Refael. I mean, they're in a wild card spot. They're only 5 games out as well. So that's good to see. I know Seattle really hit a speed bump in the way. Houston 8-2 in their last 10. But honestly, Greg, I think the main thing right now The Yankees, they can't hit. They've scored 16 runs in 7 games. Judge at one point was 2 for 14 with 12 Ks, 6 for his last 30. Had a good game on Friday night. I think they'll turn it around, but man, offensively, they can't do it. And they're big, and the market continues to favor them at big prices. So we're getting some good value against the Yankees. And on the other side in Queens, it's the opposite. The Mets pitching, they've allowed 51 runs over 7 games. They're being outscored 51-16. They allowed just 10 runs for the first time this season Friday night. They're missing Senga really bad. Their bullpen's not been doing well. They need Sean Manaea back as well. But hopefully it is June, and as history shows, in June, the Mets aren't off to the best start. So I think both teams will turn it around, but New York is really hurting. And I guess one player that's really stood out, Denzel Clark. I mean, he's a monster in the field. He made another highlight grab Friday night. There was one, I think, last month where he robbed a home run. That kid's phenomenal in center field.
Oh, he has been. It's been a lot of fun to be able to take a look there. And as you mentioned, out there in New York, it's been a little bit of a doldrum for both of those teams as well. And I do want to get your thoughts there, because with the New York Yankees, we finally saw them bust through on Saturday. They put up a 9 spot against the Baltimore Orioles. When it comes to something like that, do you just figure that it's a little bit of just a rough week and a half, or is it a little bit of a bigger sign of concern for a team like the New York Yankees that went through a week stretch where it's just different from what we've seen for the entirety of the season?
I think it's just about a week or two. I think they'll turn it around. Maybe putting up a 9 spot at home against Zach Eflin. Maybe that was the tides turning a little bit. They're too good offensively to not be able to score as many runs as they have, especially at home with that short porch. So I think Trent Grisham needs to step it up a little bit. Everyone was able to get some hits, so it was nice to see. Anthony Volpe, the glove needs to clean it up a little bit. He's making some errors out there, but I think he'll turn it around. I think we'll start to see some positive regression from this Yankees lineup.
Yep, I think so as well. As joining me on the show, we do have Dylan Rockford, who does a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how about if we do take a look at that game that we've got for Sunday, with it being Will Warren, Dean Kramer for the Yankees. They're about minus 190 favorites, plus 150 to plus 160 is that number on Baltimore. And I feel like Baltimore has been overvalued all season long, but I'm not jonesing to lay minus 190 with Will Warren. That total is 9.5. How do you take a look at this game? Because again, like I said, I don't feel like the prices have been fair on the Orioles all season long, but also this does not feel like a fair price on Will Warren.
Yeah, I agree. I think Baltimore does get disrespected a little bit in the market for good reason, but Craig, I only made the Yankees a minus 150 here at home. Will Warren, he has been better in the Bronx this season, but plus 155, the value has to be with Baltimore. Maybe getting a nice little bounce back. They've been the hotter team outside of today. And maybe we'll see some runs, putting a 9 spot on the board. But Will Warren on the other side, he's given up 3+ runs in 3 of his 4 starts in New York as well. Kramer, he hasn't been the best either on the road. 591 ERA away from Baltimore. Batters hitting over 300 as well. So it's going to be a beautiful 90-degree weather in New York. We got 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out towards center field. So as much the Yankees, we saw them bounce back today, I might have to take the first 5 over. I think Dean Kramer will give up some runs. I think Will Warren. And maybe we'll start to see some more runs from this Yankees offense like we did today. So I'm probably going to be on the first 5 over. I think the total full game is kind of accurate. So I'm going to stay away from the full game and just take the first 5 over.
I think that's a good look by you, Dylan. And I do have to ask about this as well, because we are noticing out there in the northeast part of the country and pretty much the entirety of America, it is starting to get hot outside. Yeah. Certainly look no further than Chicago, wind blowing out, highly warm temperatures to say the least, and you're getting 100 billion runs in those games. How does that affect your handicap, and how do you just try to gauge that in general? Because I do think that it's an interesting dynamic to where sometimes people make a little bit too big of a deal of it, and then we see totals like 12.5 in Chicago. Personally, I thought, man, this is starting to get a little bit too high, and no, it's actually set way too low.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, the first 2 games have just been incredible. 10-7 today. It was 9-4. The games are just flying over, and then 13-mile-an-hour wind. So you got to, if you're betting on games at Wrigley Field or for the White Sox, you have to be looking at the wind. You just have to. If you're not, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. It's going to be 93. I don't know though, because I think the total is kind of high. It's at 11.5. I only made my total 10.8 here for Sunday with Logan Gilbert, who I think has been good on the road in Colin Ray. But I was going to ask you, do you think they're doing something with the balls again? Because balls have been dying, and it's been hot over here on the Northeast.
It's really interesting. I don't know if they've been doing a ton with the balls, but I do think that this heat wave has really been kicking things up a little bit more because I know you're out there in the Northeast part of the country. You can speak to this a little bit more than myself. It just felt like we got a little bit of a slow start to summer. And when you typically see these temperatures heat up in like late May/early June, it didn't really come until just a few days ago.
Yeah, it started to feel like summer last week. I mean, through the whole month of May and probably the first 2 weeks of June, it was gloomy, it was cold, it was rainy. And now we've had a massive heat wave this past week. It's been 90. It's going to be 100 next week. So I think we're starting to see a little more overs here coming up in the next week or so. But you're right. The unders have been profitable to start the first 2 months of the season.
Yep, it certainly has been about a 53% hit rate to the under going into Saturday, but I do think that might be going downward just a little bit. As Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and certainly we've got a lot of intrigue just all across the board, and we're talking a lot about these overs, but let me discuss a game that I really like the under on. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Texas Rangers. I recognize that Bailey Falter and Jack Leiter is not going to be a battle of two Cy Young Award candidates or anything like that, but I actually like what I've seen out of Falter, and I'm seeing a total of 9 with two teams that just simply have not hit all season long. I'm not sure you take a look at this game, but I was in on the under on Saturday. That came through relatively easily, and I'm going to be backing on this one too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see 9.5. So I know you said 9. I see a 9.5 at ESPN Plus at -130. And I agree. I only made my total 8.1. So even at a 9, I would take the under. Jack Leiter's been okay, up and down a little bit. But Bailey Falter, I know he plays for the Buccos, but he has been good too, especially at home the last few starts. And the Rangers are a dead under team. If you bet overs on the Rangers, I don't know, man. It's just last 5 games have gone under. They're 50 and 25. Half of their games are going under. So they can't score on the road. And Pirates aren't a juggernaut at home either. So I don't know. Bullpens do worry me a little bit, Greg. I think that's why I kind of stayed away from this game. But I mean, if you're getting 9.5, I mean, just on principle, I think you have to take the under.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just one of these cases where it's like, man, the Texas Rangers offense has not been able to get going all season long. They've been dealing with the Wyatt Langford injury now as well, and he's their main hitter. Corey Seager also does not look right. Like, since he's come off the injury list, he's been terrible. So, yeah, I'm right there with you on this one. So, that one I thought was a little bit curious. I think that this one is curious as well because, what we make out of Jesus Luzardo is very interesting. Right now, it's darn near a pick'em game between the Mets and the Phillies. This total is 9 for Luzardo. He had 11 starts where he gave up 3 runs or fewer to start the season. 3 out of his last 4, he's been completely shelled. Going against David Peterson, great name, who's been consistent all season long. I'm not sure you take a look at this one, but I think that you can make a great case that Luzardo is just completely lost. But if you look at the early part of the season, you can make the case for Jesus Luzardo too.
Greg, I mean, you talked about the under last game with Pittsburgh and the Rangers. This is an under that I love. I think the Phillies should be the favorite. I made him a -120 favorite. It shouldn't be a pick'em. I mean, as good, by the way, great name, Peterson, but I don't understand how it could be a pick'em. I think I like him a lot. I think he's really good. He's been great for the Mets. I think he's been a top 5 pitcher in the NL, if I'm being honest. It's just unfortunate for him that the Mets can't get him the run support. They blew his last start versus the Braves. I do think he's the better pitcher between him and Luzardo. Jesus Luzardo has been bad in the month of June. Over an 8 ERA, 13 runs given up in 13 innings, given up a run an inning. And Phillies are 1-4 straight up in his last 5 starts. So maybe that's why the market is setting it at a pick'em right now. But to be honest, the under, I see 9.5 at FanDuel at -122. My total came out to 8.1. I think we're going to see a very, very low scoring game on Sunday Night Baseball. Maybe first 5 under. Mets bullpen has been worrisome right now. But yeah, I think the Mets are live here in the first 5, maybe first 5 plus a half I like as well. But I really see a low scoring game here.
Yeah, I set mine at an 8.3, so I am right there with you. We are in lockstep on that. And what do we make right now of the Colorado Rockies, who they've actually won some games here in the month of June? And you got Antonio Senzatella on the bump going up against Brandon Pfaadt. That's why you've got a total that is about as high as you're going to see all season long. We're starting to see 12.5s. I saw 1 or 2 13s very briefly as well with the Diamondbacks. They're -205, and it's a dangerous game playing any sort of an under in an Antonio Senzatella start, but want to get your thoughts here because, man, especially if you get a 13, I don't know if I could quite go over here.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get to 13. I made my total 11.8, but it's maybe it earns.
Tough.
It's tough. I mean, with elevation and even Brandon Pfaadt, he hasn't been the best either. So I don't know. Maybe earned runs allowed for Antonio Senzatella. They'll probably sit around 3.5. He gave up 0 in his last start against Washington, but San Francisco rocked him. Arizona does have a good offense, so not the best defense, and they need help pitching, especially in that bullpen. But I mean, they're a top 10 offense, essentially. I do think they'll be able to get to Antonio Senzatella. So, yeah, I would be worried. I know Friday night, they have over 20 runs in the game. So it's hard not to bet an over in Colorado right now, especially with these offenses. But I probably would take maybe a prop towards Antonio Senzatella and kind of fade him. Think it's a safer place, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Brandon Pfaadt, I mean, we have no hitters in baseball. He had a no-outer a few starts ago. That was rough, to say the least. And Dylan, we've got ourselves a tremendous slate of baseball on Sunday. All 3 teams are going to be in action. Anything else that you're going to be taking a look at betting, whether that be just a game in general, player prop, just anything on the board that's really calling your name?
Yeah, I like the Twins and Brewers game. To be honest, I don't understand the line at all. I only made the Twins a -130 favorite, so I'll take the dog here. I got the Brewers at +136.
And that total at 9.5 shaded way up to the over.
I don't understand it. Twins are terrible. What are they, 2-8 in their last 10 straight up? And with David Fiesta on the bump, they're north of -160. I can't do that. I can't do that, Dave. Brewers are the better team. Quinn Priester, I think, is the better pitcher. And, he's better on the road. He's only given up 1 run in 4 of his last 5 starts. So they have the better offense. They're hitting .262 on the road. It all checks off for the Brewers. So I don't know. They scored 25 runs into 2 games, including how many on Saturday? So a 9. A 9. So they're rolling offensively right now. I can't trust the Twins. I think they go for the sweep. Give me the Brewers, Greg.
Yep, the Brewers scored 9 runs on Saturday. I had the under in the Brewers, and somehow, someway, it still both came through.
Wow.
So that was tremendous. It's something that got me very, very hyped up, and we're always hyped up to be able to get you on the show, Dylan, because you do an amazing job gauging this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Love to give people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you guys can find me over on X at Rock with 2Ks24. I cover MLB, like Greg said, every day over on SGPN. And we got a huge fight card in Las Vegas, International Fight Week, UFC 317. So cannot wait for that. We're locked and loaded. These are the dog days of summer, so we don't stop, Greg.
No, we do not. And a man that is doing just such an amazing job gauging everything is Dylan. A big thanks to him for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we catch them all.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, for joining me in the last segment every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. So how about if we do get things served? 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are on the road against the Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara is on the bump for the Fish, and Bryce Elder hopes to not look elderly for the Atlanta Braves. 8.5 is the total. Over and under both at -110, and for Miami, you're going to be getting them between plus 125 to a plus 127, and we're between -140 to -145. That number on Atlanta. And for the Braves, I did set them at a -142 if you're looking at the initial run lines. Again, you typically get these when I record at FanDuel, which they typically have some suboptimal run lines, to say the least. But that said, if you're looking at the run line, you're able to find a plus 110. If I could get up to a plus 117, I'd be looking there. Probably going to be leaning a little bit more towards a chalkier money line for the Braves because I just can't trust in Bryce Elder. For Mr. Bryce Elder, yeah, he's looked a little bit better this year than he did a season ago, but that's really not saying much, and Elder just really doesn't give you a lot of swings and misses, and he does give up a lot of contact in general, as right now he has supplied the team with about 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings and 1.5 bombs per 9, 4.45 ERA, 4.62 fielding dependent. Now, he does go up against the Miami Marlins team that's in the bottom 2 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. At home, you've got Augustin Ramirez along Kyle Stowers, who will be able to give you 10 and 11 home runs apiece, but I mean, really, other than that, you don't have a lot of guys that are supplying a lot of boom. Now, you do have guys that are able to move the line. Xavier Edwards has been able to give you about a 360 on base. You've been able to have someone like an Eric Wagaman, Jesus Sanchez, Connor Norby, Xavier Sanja. These guys in between about a 240 to a 251, and then Dave Myers has been ending above a 300, but just not a lot of wall up in this lineup. And for the Miami Marlins, in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, we've seen Ronnie Enriquez start to regress a little bit down to a north of 3 ERA. Tyler Phillips is more around about a 3.9 ERA. Calvin Fauché has been inconsistent all season long. Anthony Veziano, guys like this just have not necessarily been amazing, though I do like Anthony Bender. Bender has been able to give you a sub 275 ERA thus far this season, and for the Atlanta Braves, it's been a little bit topsy-turvy with regards to this lineup as well, and for the Atlanta Braves, having Ronald Acuna Jr. back with this lineup has been absolutely insane, as he in his first 25 games of the season has already been able to give you north of a 480 on base with 8 home runs, so he has really made an impact there. Sean Murphy, he's been able to go deep quite a bit this year, 9 home runs at his first 150 at-bats, but I mean, the guys that you really look to is a Marcell Ozuna, 380 on base, 11 home runs, Matt Olson, 360 on base, 15 bombs. You need more out of Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, both hitting about a 225 with a sub 300 on base, and for Austin Riley, 12 bombs for the Atlanta Braves. It's a relatively league average bullpen. It's not amazing, it's not terrible. The Desbel Hernandez injury has been hurting the team, but still have quite a few guys who are able to go out there and give you a relatively good performance, as Zone Lee has been able to give you a sub 2 ERA. Aaron Bummer has been very rock solid as well. He's down below a 3.5 ERA. It's been a little bit topsy-turvy with Pierce Johnson, but all in all, I just don't think that Sandy Alcantara is going to be able to give you too much here. For Sandy Alcantara, he is still posting up well north of a 6 ERA. He's looked a little bit better in his last few starts, and when you're coming off a major surgery like he is, you typically do improve as the season goes along. 6.88 ERA though. Now this is backed up by a 47 fielding dependent, but the 4.2 walks per 9 innings, that's just not him. To the credit of Mr. Sandy Alcantara, he has given up a combined 4 earned runs over the course of the last 3 starts, but do think that the Braves are going to be able to get to him here. Like this total over, I set my total at 8.7, and at a minus 141 or better, we're going to be willing to lay the Braves money line. 953, 954 on the card. The St. Louis Cardinals playoffs, the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati, who's on to Andrew Abbott getting the start for them, and Miles Mikolas goes for the Cardinals. Cardinals are anywhere in that neighborhood about a minus 105 to a minus 110. Between minus 105 to minus 110 is that number as well on the Cincinnati Reds. And your total on this game, it is 9. The over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. I set the Cardinals as really, really thin minus 102 favorites, so whichever team becomes the underdog here, that's the team that I'm going to be taking on the money line. Right now, if you're looking to lay a run half with the Cincinnati Reds, you're actually able to find that at a plus 164. If anything, that's what I'd be betting as of right now, as the Reds are right around about even money themselves at a few books. And for the Cincinnati Reds, I do think that Andrew Abbott continues his tremendous start to the season. He has allowed 0 or 1 runs in 10 out of his 12 starts. He's supplying a sub-2 ERA, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Does give up a little bit north of 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but I mean, this has been a tremendous season for him thus far. And for Miles Mikolas, he does give up a lot of contact. He's only getting about 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but doing a good job not hurting himself. 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 2.2 walks per 9 for the Cincinnati Reds. Had to run through quite a bit of that bullpen yesterday, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue for them. And I mean, for the Reds in general, this has been a bullpen that has been a little bit up and down, as you've been able to have some relatively good innings of the likes of Lyon Richardson, Tony Santillan, but I mean, Emilio Pagan, who came into the game yesterday, he's always a little bit of a roll of the dice. You've had Ian Gabo give you a north of 4 ERA. It has not been the same with Alexis Diaz down at the minor league level, who just was not effective this season. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, Steven Matz had a little bit of a rough go of it yesterday, but he, Kyle Leahy, Phil Matone have been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA. Ryan Helsley has not been ideal as a closer. He's already blown 5 saves thus far this season, but for the Cardinals, they do find a way to be able to provide a lot of offense, despite not necessarily a ton of power. Outside the top 23 with regards to home runs on a per-at-bat basis, Wilson Contreras is really the lone guy in the roster that's been able to give you 10-plus home runs. Right now, supplying about a 334 on base. Now, you've got Brandon Donovan, Alec Burleson, both hitting above a 310. They're doing a nice job finding a way on base. And you do have quite a few guys, like a Mason Wynn, who's able to give you a 325 on base. Lars Zupar hitting for just a 230, but 8-plus home runs, 340 on base. That's been pretty rock solid. And for the Cincinnati Reds lineup, you've got TJ Friedel, who's been able to give you a 380 on base. You've got Gavin Lux, who's moving the line, but I mean, outside of Ellie De La Cruz, you don't have anyone with north of 8 home runs. De La Cruz, 16-plus bombs, north of 20 stolen bases. He has been amazing and could use a little bit more out of some of these guys like Connor Joe, Will Benson, Jake Fraley, Matt McClain. Guys are all hitting about a 230 or lower, not necessarily supplying a lot of power. So I do think that for the St. Louis Cardinals, you are going to be getting a bunch that's going to be able to do a nice job holding down the fort against the Cincinnati Reds. I do think that this is going to be a bit of a lower scoring game. You don't necessarily have a pair of teams that like to go yard, but I do think that whatever team becomes plus money / if you could get the Reds at like a plus 165 on the run line, we'll be taking a look there. So going to be looking in some form or capacity at the underdog, and I do like this total under. I semi-tell that at 8.3. 955, 956 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks hit the road to face off against the Colorado Rockies. Antonio Senzatella is on the bump for the Rockies, and Brandon Pfaadt looks to battle for Arizona. Arizona is a minus 195 to a minus 208 favorite, between plus 168 to a plus 175. That number on Colorado. 12.5 is the total. The over is minus 120 and the under is even. And if you're looking at that initial opener on the run line right now, going to be laying about minus 135 on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 158. Recognize that for Brandon Pfaadt, this has not been a savory season for him, to say the least. Right now, he's rocking a 538 ERA, giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. But last 2 starts have been a bit better. He had that just really brutal 3-start stretch where he had given up 14 runs in 9 innings. He was just suboptimal, to say the least. And for Antonio Senzatella, want to talk about suboptimal. Giving up 14.3 hits per 9 innings, a nice hearty 6.72 ERA. Boy, that has been less than tremendous. But that said, he has given up 0-1 runs in 2 out of his last 3 starts. And you do have an Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that, I mean, they certainly have been amazing. They've been a top 7 team in the big leagues with regards to runs per game. You've got Eugenio Suarez along Corbin Carroll, who both been able to do a tremendous job of just being able to supply the wall up. Both of these guys, 20-plus home runs thus far this season, and backed up by someone in a Josh Naylor, who's been able to hit for north of a 290, north of a 345 on base. Additionally, you've been able to get really good production out of Ketel Marte. Marte Parte, 13 home runs and 180 at bats, north of a 400 on base. Geraldo Perdomo, about a 350 on base. And for the Colorado Rockies, this is a bunch that's still only scoring about 4.2 runs per game at home. It's a whole heck of a lot better than their road production, and just overall, over the last 2 weeks, we have seen this team, ever since they got in Thairo Estrada, Orlando Arcia, be able to give you a little bit more offense. And I will say Jordan Beck has done a nice job moving the line. 9 home runs, about a 260 average. And Hunter Goodman, even though most of his home runs have actually come on the road, 14 bombs and is hitting north of 280. So these guys have been able to rise up. You've got Tyler Freeman, who's hitting above 300, but you still do have quite a few guys that they're just not necessarily giving you a ton. You've been able to get a lot more at home out of Ryan McMahon rather than on the road. He's overall for the season hitting a 225, but that batting average rises by like 100 points when he's at home. But still, you do have a few guys that are just not necessarily giving you a ton. Kyle Farmer has only been able to hit about a 200 thus far this season. When Sean Borchard has been out there, it's been a little bit rough. Even Orlando Arcia at home is only hitting about a 235 without any homers. And I do think that for the Rockies, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, though. What I do like about the Rockies is how well this bullpen has been performing thus far this season. You do have a few guys like Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, Jake Bird, who'll be able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Juan Mejia is actually giving you some good innings out. When you get into the likes of Zach Ognos and Tyler Kinley, that's where it gets really rough. And Diamondbacks, they themselves do have a bullpen that does rank outside the top 25 in terms of ERA. Shelby Miller, Jalen Beeks have been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA, but for Justin Martinez, it's been a lot of season with about a 4 ERA. You just need to be getting a little bit more out of some of these guys towards the bottom of it, like a Juan Murillo along with Ryan Thompson, providing north of a 4.30 ERA as well. But I do think that this total is just set a little bit too high, even though it is Coors Field, even though it is the summertime. So my total 12.2. I like the under, and for the Diamondbacks, we'll go up to a minus 158 on that run line. 957, 958 on the card. The Washington Nationals that throw the facing off against the LA Dodgers as Shohei Ohtani is on the bump for the Dodgers, and Mike Soroka is on the bump for Washington. 9 is the total. Over is between minus 120 to a minus 125. The under is anywhere between even and plus 105, and for the Dodgers, between minus 290 to minus 310 is that number on them. For the Washington Nationals, you're going to be finding them as a pretty sizable underdog here of anywhere between about plus 235 to a plus 250. If you're looking to lay a run out for the Dodgers, that's currently at a minus 137, and I'd be willing to go up to a minus 140 with the Dodgers. I don't want to go much past this minus 137, but I'm going to be willing to do so. For Shohei Ohtani, he went 1 inning in his first start of the season, and it's really hard to make much out of 1 inning, good, bad, or indifferent. He's probably going to be stretched out a little bit more. Maybe he goes 2 innings, 2 1/3 innings, but he's probably not going past the 3 mark. You have to be anticipating this is going to be a little bit more of a Penn Kasparis game, like for as incredible as Shohei Ohtani is. There's just not a lot to be had here. Kasparis, so as a bulk guy, has been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. His strikeout numbers have been pretty rock solid for this Dodgers team as well, as he's actually made a few starts thus far this season, and every time he's been out there, he's been able to hold down the fort, do a nice job. He's getting you about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, supplying a 3.02 ERA. He's given up just 2 home runs and 47 plus innings thus far this season, so you're in good hands there, and you're obviously in great hands with this LA Dodgers lineup. Currently number 1 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home, north of 6.2 runs per contest, with Mr. Ohtani still being in the lineup, give you 25 bombs, hitting for north of a 380 on base. Got Teoscar Hernandez, who's supplying 13 home runs. Andy Paz, 15 home runs. He's been hitting north of 290. It's been a little bit of a slow start to the season for Mookie Betts, but he's starting to rise up. Freddie Freeman, nearly a 400 on base. Will Smith is getting jiggy with the north of 400 on base. So these guys have all been really good in the lineup. And for the rest of the LA Dodgers bullpen, it can be a little bit hit or miss for them, but getting Michael Kopech off the injured list, that helps them out. Jack Dreyer has been a nice long guy, giving you a sub 3 ERA as well. It's been a little bit hit or miss with the likes of Anthony Banda and company, but for the Dodgers, it is getting better and better. And on the flip side for the Washington Nationals, rough with regards to their bullpen, as they are currently dead last in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. You just have a lot of guys that are just not giving you good innings in general. Cole Henry and Brad Lord are below a 4 ERA, and you've had Kyle Finnegan be a relatively good closer. But when you get into these guys like Jose Ferrer, Jackson Rutledge, Eduardo Salazar, all giving you north of 5 ERA. Not ideal. And for the Washington Nationals, this is a lineup that is very much coming back to earth. James Wood has been amazing, 20 home runs, 375 on base. Then Nathaniel Lowe, CJ Abrams, both of these guys, 10 plus bombs, with Abrams being able to give you about a 350 on base. Luis Garcia is moving line hitting at 270, but then you got Josh Bell, even though he's giving you 9 home runs, hitting below the middle line of 200. Ahmed Rosario, not a ton of power, but he's hitting about a 270. But I do think that for the Washington Nationals, this is going to be rough with Mike Soroka just never really becoming that guy that we anticipated he would be. I think a lot of it is due to injury, but he was really an upside guy when it came to his time with the Atlanta Braves, and now he's rocking a 5.06 ERA, giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. Strikeout numbers are up. He's been able to give you about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I do think that for the LA Dodgers, they get to him, they hit him relatively hard, so semi-total 9.6. I do like the over and the run line here of the Dodgers. 959, 960 on the card. The New York Mets, and throw they're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies, says Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phils, and David Peterson, great name, is on the bump for the Mets, and the Mets are in a pick'em game. You're going to be finding them between about a minus 110 to a minus 105, and then with the Philadelphia Phillies, find them as good as even money, as bad as a minus 117, and the total on this game is 9. Over is minus 120, the under is even. I'm going to set the Phillies on the money line at a minus 132. For Jesus Luzardo, rough last 3 starts, actually last 4 starts, because in 3 out of his last 4 starts, he has given up 4+ runs. Prior to that, he had posted up a 2.15 ERA. He was getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings and given up 3 runs runs or fewer in every one of those starts. I do think that he's going to be able to return to form. We haven't seen like too much of a velocity dip with him, what have you. And if you're looking at pitchers, if you're comparing fielding dependent to ERA, that are most misrepresented by the ERA, Jesus Luzardo right at the top. 4.41 ERA, fielding dependent of a 2.88. Again, I recognize that it's gone down the toilet bowl in his last few starts, but I still can't unsee what we saw in the first 11 starts of the season. And for David Peterson, he's already got a complete game under his belt. He's doing a great job of inducing soft contact, giving up about 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. And while he doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, career low 2.9 walks per 9 innings, 307 fielding dependent. So he's been rock solid for the New York Mets. This has been a very rock solid lineup with a quartet of guys at the top that have been able to give you a double figure amount of homers. And for this Metropolitans team, it has been amazing what we've been seeing out of Pete Alonso all season long, as he's been able to supply this team with 18 home runs, darn near 385 on base. And then Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor continues to battle through injury, along with Brandon Nimmo, all between 13 and 14 home runs. Jeff McNeil in his small sample size, 8 home runs and 140 at bats. You've got guys towards the bottom fold like Brett Beatty and company that you need a little bit more from, but all in all, very rock solid lineup. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're without Bryce Harper, so they've only got one guy that's able to give you a double figure amount of homers. That'd be Kyle Schwarber. He's been able to supply the team with 23 bombs. He's been able to give you north of a 350 on base, but you do have other guys that do a nice job of finding a way on base. Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, only at least at 282. Turner has been able to give you 9 home runs, and for Bryson Stott, he's been a little bit up and down, but he's been able to give you 34 RBI, so you've been able to get a bit of something there. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, yeah, this is not necessarily the most, shall we say, tremendous bullpen on the face of planet Earth, especially with Jose Alvarado currently being out of the fold due to the weight loss supplement situation. But that said, Ryan Kerkering has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Outside of that, you're going to need to get a bit more out of the likes of Matt Strom, Tanner Banks, guys like this. They're posting up north of a 3.8 ERA. They had to DFA Carlos Hernandez because he was just awful. But for the Mets, this is a top 6 team with regards to their bullpen ERA. You've had Jose Buto do a really good job as a long guy, being able to supply a sub 3.5 ERA. But I mean, Reed Garrett, along with Edwin Diaz, supplying a sub 250 ERA is very big for the team as well. You've had Oscar Barzobin do a nice job holding down the fort, but I do think that Jesus Luzardo comes back into form. I do think that the Phillies on Sunday Night Baseball find a way to get the job done. I set them as a minus 132 favorite. I'm willing to lay the money line of the Phillies, made my total in 8.3, so also went on the under. 961, 962 on the card. The New York Yankees play out the Baltimore Orioles. Dean Kramer is on the bump for Baltimore, and Will Warren goes for the Yankees. Yankees are between minus 174 to minus 190 favorites, and between plus 152 to a plus 160 is that number on Baltimore. 9.5 is the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. Starting to see 110 out there. That under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I did set my total here at a 9.7, and personally I would rather have a 9.5 over rather than a 10 under, because I've just learned that even though Will Warren appears to be due for positivity for the New York Yankees, and he has been able to do a really good job with his strikeout numbers, he just gives up quite a bit of contact in general when he misses his spot. 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, or near 4 walks per 9 innings. 4.83 ERA, 2.90 fielding independent. He really doesn't give up the deep ball, but he gives up a lot of, for lack of a better term, doubles power. 3+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, but I have absolutely no faith in Dean Kramer, even though he's had a few good starts recently. Right now he's rocking a nice hearty 4.80 ERA, 4.24 fielding dependent, only about 6.9 very nice strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 4+ runs allowed in 2 out of his last 3 starts. And for the Yankees, perhaps their bats are finally back after yesterday they were able to put up a 9 spot. It was very long overdue for the Yankees. Aaron Judge continues to be amazing. 27 home runs, north of 460 on base. He's not the issue for this team. It's all about what are you going to be able to get out of the likes of Trent Grisham, who's been able to give you 15 bombs, 350 on base. Ben Rice, he's out hitting about at 232 with his 13 home runs. Jazz Chisholm, he's starting to get jazzy with it, north of 340 on base. He's back up to 10 home runs. And Paul Goldschmidt has been on a little bit of a slide, which has been a big reason why this Yankees lineup has been a little bit less than savory over the last few days, down to about a 360 on base, but I think he's going to be able to find it as well. And for Baltimore, this is a lineup that is hitting much better than they did just a few weeks ago. Being able to get back the likes of a Jordan Westberg, being able to get back into the fold, Colton Cowser, that's a big deal for this team. Now, Gunnar Anderson has really had to put the team on his back recently, about a 350 on base, just not getting a lot of power in general of this lineup. Ramon Laureano has actually been able to give you 9 home runs with a 330 on base. He's been pretty solid. And then Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, both between 10 and 12 home runs apiece. Oren is moving the line with about a 380 on base, but Marlins is down to hitting about a 222. Ali Rushman has been rough all season long, and this is a Baltimore Orioles bullpen that is brutal. Outside the top 25 in terms of bullpen ERA, you've actually had a few relatively solid relievers. Felix Bautista in the closer spot has been rock solid. Brian Baker, Keegan Aiken, they're able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but then you get into some of these guys. Gregory Soto has actually not been completely awful recently, but man, Matt Bowman is rocking north of a 4.5 ERA. You never know what you're going to be able to get onto some of these other long relievers because they've been trying to mix and match with just some of these random guys in the bullpen, like Andrew Kittredge has come off the injury list. He's been posting up north of a 5 ERA. They were trying out their Cianel Perez before they just decided to cut ties with him. He was posting up an 8 ERA, so they're just looking to be able to find their footing. Their Yadier Cano has been rough as well, and I do think that the Yankees jump all aboard them. And you now have Luke Weaver off the injury list for the Yankees. Recognize that a few days ago he had a little bit of a less than tremendous relief appearance, but he's going to be able to up this team. You've had Yuri De Los Santos, Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill, all be able to give you a sub-3.2 ERA as well. So I do think that the Yankees bullpen is on the up and up, and I do think that they find a way to be able to get the job done here. I did set my money line price at a minus 168. If you're looking at the run line, I would need at least a plus 118 to be able to take a shot there. Right now, with regards to that initial run line price, I'm seeing that more in the neighborhood about even money, so it's a little bit of a wait and see mode there. I'm probably going to be ending up in the camp of the New York Yankees in some form or capacity, money line / run line, and then with regards to this 9.5, I'm in on the over. 963, 964 on the betting board. The Tampa Bay Rays play host to the Detroit Tigers as Casey Mize is on the bump for the Tigres, and Zach Little hopes to come up big for the Rays, and the Rays are a very slim favorite of anywhere between minus 109 to a minus 115. And between even money to minus 108, that number on Detroit 9 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. Starting to see a few 8.5s. The 8.5 over is minus 125, and the under is plus 105, and I'm going to be taking a look at the over. I did set my total 9.2 for Little. He just has been very, very big in the way that he's given up home runs. Has been quite fortunate in the fact that the home runs that he's been giving up have been a lot of solo shots. He's only got a 388 ERA despite giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. The 22 total home runs already matches a career high, so that's not great. But he's also giving up 1.1 walks per 9 innings, so he's doing a great job on that front. Right now, 533 fielding independent, so you do have to have your question marks there. And then on the flip side, you do have yourself a bunch that has been just not great over the last few days. But for the Detroit Tigers, overall for the season, it's been a rock-solid team. And I do think that Casey Mize is going to be able to go out there and give you a good start. 296 ERA. Fielding independent is hovering more in that neighborhood of a 387 as he's not a strikeout artist. 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is giving up 1.2 bombs per 9 innings as well, but I do think that he's going to be able to go out there and hold down the fort for the team and for the Detroit Tigers. This has been a top 7 team in terms of runs per game. Trio of guys who would be able to give you at least 13 home runs in Mr. Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, and Kerry Carpenter. And for Green, he is up to now hitting at 285. He has been tremendous. And I mean, these are not solo shots because you got guys around him that are finding a way to be able to move the line, get on base. Gleyber Torres at 386 on base. Javi Baez sitting at 290. Dylan Dingler hitting just below 270. Heck, even someone like a Cole Keith has been able to give you nearly a 340 on base. Vencio Perez has been able to make a nice impact since coming off the injury list as well. And then for the Detroit Tigers, if you look overall at the bullpen, it's right around league average in terms of ERA. I do fully believe that this is a better bullpen than that for Will Vest. He has been very rock solid for this team as he, along with Chase Lee, the opener from yesterday, Brant Herter, Tommy Canley, you go down the list of guys who will be able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Brandon Hennefy has been a little bit of an issue, but all these guys are doing a good job of holding down the fort. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this is the number 1 team in the American League with regards to their bullpen ERAs. You've got so many guys they're able to make some match with as well. Pete Fairbanks has been a very dominant closer for this team, and then Garrett Clevenger, Eric Orze, and Manuel Rodriguez, all being able to give you a sub 275 ERA has been very ideal for you. And for this Tampa Bay Rays lineup, it is now a team that's ranking in the top 10 in terms of runs per game. Junior Caminero, Brandon Lau, combined 33 home runs this far this season, both hitting above a 260. Yandy Diaz over the last 3 days hitting well above a 300. He's up to 12 bombs. Now, the bottom of the lineup you need to get a bit more from. The likes of Cameron Misner, Danny Jansen, Taylor Wall sitting at 220 or lower. That's been a bit of an issue. Josh Lowe has been in and out of the fold all season long, but do you like what I'm seeing out of this Tampa Bay Rays lineup? With regards to Rays, I did set them at a minus 114 on the money line, so I'm going to be willing to lay. I do think that both of these starters who give up a lot of contact, they do get little bit, shall we say, gashed here. I did set my total 9.2, so like the over along with that raise money line. 965, 966 on the betting board. The Chicago White Sox are on the road. They're facing off against the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Bassett as the hook, line, and sinker for the Jays, and Adrian, don't call him Doogie Howser, is on the bump for the White Sox. Right now with the Blue Jays, initial opener is them at a minus 215, minus 108 on the run line, plus 180 on the White Sox, and the over is minus 115, under is minus 105 with a total of 9. Did set my total at 8.4, so I'm going to be taking a look at this total under. Adrian Hauser has actually been able to give you some good starts for the Chicago White Sox, much to my surprise as a Milwaukee Brewers fan. Man, that's been interesting, but for Hauser, he's posting up a 2.15 ERA across 5 starts. Don't think that this is going to be long-lasting. Fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is still supplying about 3 walks per 9 innings, so we're going to need to get a little bit more something there, but still, this guy has been pretty rock solid this far this season, and for Chris Bassett, I do believe that he's pitching a little bit better than what the raw ERA numbers would indicate. He's right now got a 3.75 ERA, feeling pennant more in that neighborhood of a 3.56. 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.1 walks per 9, really not giving up the deep ball, but has given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, 4+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 as well, but he was backed up by a bullpen that's been a little bit better here for the Toronto Blue Jays. They've been able to ascend into the top 12 in terms of bullpen ERA, especially recently. They have been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the last 5 weeks, as well as you've had a lot of mix and match guys that have been able to do a tremendous job of rising up for this team, as you've had that out of the likes of Braden Fisher, Brandon Little, Yumi Garcia when he's been out there, as he's been dealing with a little bit of injury, Paxton Schultz. These guys flying a sub 3.55 ERA have been rock solid. And for the Blue Jays, this has been an offense that has been rough this far this season. Bottom half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but we've got George Springer, Bo Bichette, who will be able to give you 10 home runs apiece. For Springer, he's been supplying about a 344 on base, even though we've seen the average slide a little bit. Alejandro Kirk, don't call his name, is sitting above 300. Ernie Clement is doing such a good job of moving the line as well, and then on the flip side, you've got a bunch of the Chicago White Sox that are not really moving the line. They're averaging about 3 runs per game on the road. That is dead last in the American League. Miguel Vargas has been able to give you 10 home runs. That's been solid, but man, you've got a lot of guys that are hitting at 215 or lower for this bunch when he's been out there. Matt Theus, Joshua Palacios, Brooks Baldwin, Josh Rojas, Luis Robert, and for Robert, 22 stolen bases, but 7 home runs an inning, $191. You need a bit more there. Now you do have a few guys like Lennon Sosa, Chase Meredith, along with Edgar Quiero, hitting above a 265, and Mike Tauchman says coming out the injury list about a 265 on base, but certainly not what you're looking for in terms of run production. And for the White Sox bullpen, this has been one that has been pretty rough to say the least. You've had Mike Vasil be a really good long guy, but now they're having to utilize him as a starter. Steven Wilson has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. You've had Grant Taylor in a small sample size look relatively okay, but the likes of a Jordan Leisure, Owen White, throw in there as well, Brandon Iser, Cam Bouger, these guys posting up north of 4 ERA. It's a little bit less than tremendous. I think the Bassett gives you a nice start here, so I'm going to be willing to lay that run line of the Blue Jays. Went up to a minus 113 there, and so I tell it at 8.4. Here at the 9, I'm in on the under. 967, 968 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians hit the road. They're facing off against the Athletics, as JP Sears is on the bump for the Athletics, and Slade Sissoni is on the bump for the Guardians. And for the Gardos, they are a minus 130 to a minus 137 favorite, and we're in the neighborhood about plus 112 to a plus 120. Then around the Athletics 10 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. I did set my total at a 10.2. Versus Sony. It's just been a case where he's given up too much hard contact, and I do think that he's got some relatively good swing and miss stuff, and at 25 years old, he's got quite a bit of upside, but that said, 4.15 ERA, 4.69 fielding dependent with 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He is getting about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. To his credit, 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, but man, that hard contact is rough, and now you go to Sacramento where the ball is just absolutely flying this year. Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom, both have been able to supply the Athletics with 14 plus home runs this season, and Jacob Wilson, you want to talk about a guy who just finds a way on base. 358 average, and now starting to draw a few walks with a 397 on base as well, and you've been able to get really good production as well out of Lawrence Butler, 325 on base. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. Nick Kurtz in his first 135 at-bats, 10 home runs. He's now hitting at 250, so you've got a lot of guys that have been stepping up in the Miguel Andujar injury Now, something that's not stepping up, the Athletics bullpen. Currently dead last in the big leagues in terms of ERA, and it's by a country mile. If you look at guys that have made at least 7 appearances out of this bullpen thus far this season, Logan Harris is the only one with a sub 4.25 ERA. He's been posting up at 3.81. Mason Miller's had a rough season. Grant Holman has had a rough season. Like, everything that they have tried, as well as Lobito and company, it just has not worked for this bullpen. And for the Athletics, it's a case where JP Sears, not necessarily a trustworthy guy here, as he's been posting up a 5.45 ERA. His home runs per 9 rate is right around about 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. To his credit, he doesn't give up a lot of walks, but man, he has just been getting lit up like a Christmas tree. And at home this far this season, he's giving up nearly 4 home runs per 9 innings. 12 bombs in 27 and a third innings for a 6.91 ERA. And this is a Cleveland Guardians lineup that is very top heavy. You've got Jose Ramirez, who's been able to give you 12 plus home runs. He's doing a really good job of finding a way on base. And then I've had Stephen Kwan at the top, be able to hit about a 300 as well. When you get outside that, it's a little bit of a roll of the dice, as Carlos Santana has been able to give you about a 350 or so on base. And then you just take a look at these guys that they're just not finding a way on base. You've got the likes of Nolan Jones, Bo Naylor, Will Wilson, Kyle Manzardo, Lane Thomas. These guys hitting a 218 or lower. So bad that John Kenzie Noel had to get sent down to the minors. And for Manzardo, 11 home runs, but hitting a 212, you just need a little bit more there. And I do think that for the Cleveland Guardians, at the very least, they do have the much better bullpen in this case. Now, we have seen Emmanuel Clase not necessarily look like the Emmanuel Clase of old, and it's been up to Kate Smith, Hunter Gaddis, pair of guys that give you north of 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, a hold down the fourth, both a sub 225. Nick Enright has been able to give you some solid innings as well, but likes of Jacob Junis, Tim Aaron, and company just have not been able to give you a lot of production in this bullpen. And said, I do think that they find a way to be able to get the job done. In this case, I set the Guardians at a minus 134 on the money line. So I'm going to go up to about a plus 121 or so on the run line. So I'll take a chalkier money line here and this total over with Cleveland, 969, 970 on the card. Got the Houston Astros on the road against the LA Angels as the professor, Kyle Hendricks, is on the bump for the Halos, and Ryan Gusto is on the bump for Houston. Houston is a favorite of between minus 120 and minus 130, anywhere between even money to plus 113. It's that number on Los Angeles 9. It's 12. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I'm going to be taking a look at the Astros on the money line. I did set them at a minus 149. For Kyle Hendricks, congratulations on a really nice start when he went up against the New York Yankees a few days ago. I don't think that he's going to be able to duplicate that. Guy just does not really give you a lot of swings and misses, less than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for our good friend and Mr. Kyle Hendricks, it's been a case where he's been giving up a lot more hard contact this year. 4.74 ERA, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Doesn't give up a ton of walks, but the ball is in the zone, and the Astros should be able to hit it. With Isaac Paredes supplying 15 plus home runs this season, Jose Altuve up to a double-figure amount of bombs. He's hitting at 270. Jeremy Pena, he's up to 9 plus home runs. He's been hitting well above a 3. Cam Smith is now hitting north of 270. Now, you do need to get a little bit more out of Yandy Urdiaz along Christian Walker. Both of these guys for their on-base percentage below 290, but you're able to get some relatively good power out of them as well. Like some Mauricio Dubon and company that they've been mixing and match with towards the bottom of the lineup have been a little bit less than tremendous, but do like to see them overall. And for the LA Angels, talk about an all-or-nothing team. Dead last in the big leagues in terms of their on-base percentage, but third in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis, like with Taylor Ward. He's been able to give you 19 home runs, but he's got less than 275 on base. Logan O'Hoppe, Joe Adell, a pair of guys with 13-plus home runs, but providing you with a sub-295 on base. Even Mike Trout's been hitting below a 240, so you've got a lot of guys that are swinging for the fences. Luis Rengifo just has not been good. 3 home runs, and it's giving you less than a 270 on base, so you need a little bit more there. And for the LA Angels, you just need a little bit more from this bullpen as well. Hunter Strickland, and the corpse of him has actually been very good. He's been able to give you like 10 plus scoreless innings out of relief, so that's good. But you've got a whole bunch of guys past that have north of 4 ERA. Kenley Jansen, Ryan Zephyrion, the improved Reed Detmers, guys like that just have not been able to hold it down. And for the Houston Astros, this team is a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. As a matter of fact, they entered into Saturday, I believe, number 3. The Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Bennett Sosa, Caleb Bohr, Josh Hader, all these guys being able to give you a sub-3 ERA is very ideal. And I do think that Gusto, though he is posting up a 4.31 ERA with a little bit over 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, he blows them away, 10 punch-outs per 9. So I did take a shot on the Astros on the money line. I was willing to go up to a minus 149 and did semi-total 9.2, so at the 9, I'm also in on the over. 971, 972 on the card. The Walker Texas Rangers hit the road. They're facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bailey Falter hopes to not live up to his name, and Jack Leiter is on the bum for Texas. Pretty much a pick'em game here. Both of these teams anywhere between a minus 105 to a minus 115 with a total of 9. The overs between minus 110 to a minus 115. Unders between minus 105 to a minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to back the under here. I did set my total at a 7.8 as these two teams just have not hit all season long. These two teams are in the bottom 5 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and I recognize that for Texas, things are getting a little bit better with a few of these guys. Adolis Garcia now hitting at 235, Marcus Semien now hitting at 228, but it's still been deplorable. This team still doesn't necessarily have a ton of power. Evan Carter, shout out to him. He's been able to give you about a 345 on base with a little bit of pop, but Wyatt Langford has been the main home run hitter for the Texas Rangers this season. He's been out of the lineup over the last few days. You've got Corey Seager, who since coming off the injured list has been terrible. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've got 3 guys on the roster who've been able to give you north of 4 home runs this far this season. Brian Reynolds, who's sitting at 220. Onyel Cruz, who's sitting at 215. And then Andrew McCutcheon, who's been able to give you about a 350 on base. Isaiah Canara-Falefa moves the line. He's hitting about a 280, but these mix and match guys just have not been able to give you anything. Alex Canario, Henry Davis, Jared Trollo, a lot of guys at the bottom of the fold hitting at 220 or lower. Spencer Horwitz not far from that with about a 228, and for Pittsburgh, it's actually been remarkable what we've seen out of Bailey Falter recently, as he has not been living up to his name. As for Mr. Falter, 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 7 out of his last 9 starts, 3.49 ERA, not a strikeout artist, gives up 3 walks per 9 innings, about 6 punch-outs per 9, but that said, you've got a guy in Jack Leiter on the flip side that he's getting about 7.3 strikeouts and north of 4.2 walks per 9 innings, 4.40 ERA, but he is backed up by a bullpen that has actually been really good for the Texas Rangers. Their 3.30 bullpen ERA is currently a top 5 out there in all of baseball, and you take a look at the last 30 days, they've been supplying a 2.10 ERA, so these guys are really starting to rise up. You've got my man from the great city of Hortonville, Wisconsin, Caleb Belchley, who's actually been able to form himself into a nice long guy for this team. They need it because Jacob Latz is probably going to be looking to be making some bulk appearances / starts moving forward. You've had quite a few other guys on the shorter end, like Hobie Milner, along with as well Chris Martin, throw in there Robert Garcia, who'll be able to give you a sub 3.20 ERA. So these guys have been able to do a pretty rock solid job. And then on the flip side, you've got a bunch in the Pittsburgh Pirates that the bullpen has been rise up for them as well. They're a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the past 35 or so days. You've been able to get some good production out of Dennis Santana all season long. He's supplying a sub 2 ERA. Braxton Ashcraft, who they just recently called up to the big league level, he's been solid along with Isaac Madsen. David Bennar has gotten down below a 3.25 ERA. Caleb Ferguson has been solid as well. So I think that you're in for a low-scoring slog, and do have the faith in the Pittsburgh Pirates to get the job done. Set them at a minus 114. So like the Pirates on the money line and the total under 973, 974 on the card. The Milwaukee Brewers hit the road. They're facing off against the Minnesota Twins. David Festa hopes to have a fiesta for the Twins, and Quinn Pricer is on the bump for the Brewers. The Brewers do find themselves as a pretty mid-sized underdog, anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 127. Meanwhile, minus 137 to a minus 144 is that number on Minnesota. Mostly seeing 9.5 with this total. The over at a minus 125, the under at a plus 105. Starting to see a 10 out there. Under at minus 115, over at minus 105. I recognize that Quinn Pricer is not necessarily a Cy Young candidate here. Neither is David Festa, but I set my total at 9.2. This has gone a little bit too far. It's not like Minnesota is like Great American Ballpark, Coors Field, or anything like that. This is not the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the world. And for Pricer, he's actually given up 1 or 2 runs in each of his last 5 starts. Now, he is due for some regression. 3.46 ERA, 4.06 fielding independent, getting only about 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's inducing soft contact, getting 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. And I do have to think that this Brewers home and road split with their offense does come back to earth a little bit. For the Brewers, they're averaging 5.5 runs per game away from home and 3.6 runs per game at home. And it's not like Miller Park is like some sort of a demonstrative pitcher-friendly ballpark or something like that. Like, I don't know what's happening in terms of these Milwaukee Brewers home and road splits, but somehow, some way, they're averaging darn near 2 runs per game more when they're on the road. And I mean, again, it's not like this team is like some sort of a power rating team or something like that. The Brewers are in the bottom 10 with regards to home runs on a per at-bat basis. Now, you do have a quartet of guys that are giving you a double-figure amount of stolen bases. Sal Frelick, Bryce Harang, Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio hitting a 261, but only a 289 on base. Plenty of guys on this roster, by the way, between about a 342 to a 360 on base. You've got that out of Jake Bowers, Sal Frelick, Terang, Rhys Hoskins. It's just below that at 336. William Contreras, and Hoskins, by the way, up to a double-figure amount of homers. And Christian Yelich, he is leading the way. He's been able to supply this team with 14 home runs, and the offense does come and go when he does. But, I mean, Jory Ortiz along Caleb Durbin at the bottom of the fold, hitting a 220 or lower. And for the Minnesota Twins, they've been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and I don't really know how. Byron Buxton has been rock solid, 15 plus bombs. He's giving you 345 on base. And then you do have a few guys that are finding a way on, like Willie Castro is giving you a 360 on base. Ryan Jeffers a 350 on base, but again, not a power rating team. Brooks Lee is hitting about a 260. Harrison Bader about a 345 on base. But I mean, these guys like Matt Wallner, Jonah Bride at the bottom of the fold have been a little bit miserable. Now for the Twins, they have been a bottom 8 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen rate over the last 40 days. But the top guys are still very much the top guys for this team, as Yohan Duran, Louis Varland have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Danny Kalum is actually giving you a sub 1 ERA. Brock and Roll Stewart has been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, they were last year number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. This year they do find themselves in the bottom half of the big leagues, but it does feel like they're starting to find their footing. Getting Aaron Ashby back off the injured list is big. Nick Mears, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, three of guys who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, and I do think that for Pricer, he goes out there, gives you a relatively okay start. And David Festa, I really do think is in for some positivity here. Like, this guy is able to blow it by you. He's able to get punch-outs. Now, for David Festa, he also does give up a little bit too much of the deep ball, as well as he's right now rocking a 478 ERA, giving up 1.4 home runs and 4.1 walks per 9 innings to go with it, 10 punch-outs per 9 innings, so about a 456 fielding independent, but total just seems a little bit too high here. I set my total at a 9.2. I like the under for the Brewers. I did set them on the money line at a plus 137 right now. We're seeing this out there with them and the Twins being about a minus 137 at the minus 137. That's my buy point on the Twins to go along with this total under 975, 976 on the card. The Chicago Cubs playoffs, the Seattle Mariners, as Logan Gilbert is on the bump for Seattle. Colin Ray's a sip parade to another start for the Cubs, and Logan Gilbert goes for the Seattle Mariners. Right now, the Mariners slim favorites, minus 110 to minus 115. Even minus 105, that number on the Cubs. No totals up on this game because it is an old Wrigley Field game. You got one initial opener at FanDuel with a total of 11.5. Over is at minus 118, and the under is at minus 105. And I did actually set the Cubs as a minus 112 favorite, so I'm going to be willing to roll the dice here on the money line. And I did set my total at an 11.8 because it's going to be blown out once again in this one. As we saw what happened yesterday. We saw what happened in Game 1 of this series. It is hot, it is humid, and things are very much hitterish with regards to these conditions. Right now, it's looking like you're going to be getting wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour and north of 80-degree temperatures in this game. So, yeah, if you're a hitter, you're absolutely loving this. And it's not like the Chicago Cubs need a lot of help with regards to rating in general. It's they and the LA Dodgers. They're at the top of the fold in terms of runs per game in the National League, as you've got just so many guys that right now supplying boom for the Chicago Cubs. As you've got Pete Armstrong up to 20 home runs, Seiya Suzuki 18 home runs, Dansby Swanson, Kyle Tucker, Michael Busch have all been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. Tucker getting on base, 395 on base. So these aren't solo home runs, because you've had Carson Kelly give you 350 on base, albeit he's been a little bit rough recently, but also have Ian Happ giving you about a 340 on base. Nico Horner moving the line as well. Now for the Chicago Cubs, if you look at the last 45 days, this has been the best bullpen in the big leagues in terms of ERA. I have to think that there's going to start to be a little bit of regression with that. We did see that take place on Saturday, as you've got the likes of Drew Pomeranz, Daniel Palencia, even Brad Keller, Ryan Brazier, all these guys give you a sub 215 ERA. I think that they're still going to be good, but I don't know if they're going to be quite that good. Ryan Presley up and down season. He's been pitching a little bit better recently. And for the Seattle Mariners, the top guys have been good for the team, as Matt Brash, since coming off the injured list, has been absolutely electric. He, along with Gabe Spire, you can throw in there Jackson Kowar as well on a small sample size, Andres Munoz. These guys have been able to give you a sub 245 ERA. And for Logan Gilbert, coming off the injured list, he actually had a really encouraging first start, went up against Washington Nationals, but 10 punch-outs in 5 innings. That's what you do like to see his first start since like late April. He overall for the season has been able to supply the team with quite a bit of swing and miss. He's been able to give you in that neighborhood of about 13.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't think that that's going to be continuing moving forward. more, but you know what? He's been able to do a nice job holding down the fort. He clearly looks healthy, but again, with these conditions, it's insane. And the Seattle Mariners, when they've been on the road thus far this season, this has been one of the best hitting teams in all of baseball for Seattle. They're averaging about 4.8 runs per contest. That is a top 8 mark in all of baseball. And big dumper Cal Raleigh right now leads the big leagues with 29 bombs thus far this season, north of a 375 on base. Julio Rodriguez, Ore Polanco, both 10 plus home runs, hitting about a 255 apiece. You've got Dylan Moore, who's been able to give you 8 home runs. He's been regressing a little bit recently, but JP Crawford, north of 400 on base. Randy Arozarena, I think, is going to find it a little bit more as well. So high total here, semi-total 11.8. I do like the over, and for Colin Ray, I do think he's going to be helping out with regards to this total because he does give up a lot of general contact, as for our good friend and Mr. Colin Ray, he gives up a lot of general contact, 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, so it hasn't been terrible there, but we have seen regression coming for him. 4+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 5 starts. So semi-total 11.8, 11.5 or less. I like the over 12 or higher, the under. And for the Cubs, made them the -112 favorite, so I like them on the money line. 977, 978 on the card. We've got the Boston Red Sox on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Robbie Ray says hip hip hooray to another start, and Lucas Giolito is on the bump for Boston. Boston is finding themselves as anywhere between a +128 to a +137 dog. And between -147 to a -157, that number on San Francisco with 8 the total. Under is -120, the over is even on the 7.5. We're seeing a few of those out there. The over is -115, under is -105. Semi-total at 7.7, and I would rather have a 7.5 over rather than an 8 under. I do think that Robbie Ray might be doing for a little bit of regression, even though I love what I've seen out of him thus far this season, as his walks per 9 rate is still a little bit north of 3, but what he's done a great job of is reducing on the hard contact. 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Going into this year was giving up more like 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. So he's been able to do a nice job really honing in there. He has been experiencing a little bit of ups and downs. A combined 7 runs, 6 of which were earned. Give it up in his last 2 starts, but all in all, has done a nice job being able to hold down the fort for the team. And then on the flip side, you got a guy in Giolito who's actually been really good recently for the Boston Red Sox. I just don't think that this is going to be long lasting. He has given up 1 or 0 earned runs in 4 of his last 5 starts, but I mean, he's not pitching like a guy that you'd expect to be able to continue this. 8 strikeouts at 3 walks per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, and in his first few starts, he was just getting absolutely torched. 4.73 ERA, 3.97 fielding dependent, and I do think that for the San Francisco Giants, they're starting to find their footing with Refael Dever now in the fold. He got his first home run as a Giant yesterday, and we've got plenty of guys that find a way on base. Eloy Ramos, Dom Smith, Mike Yastrzemski, I'll give you at least a 350 on base, especially Ramos being able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. Casey Schmidt stepping in for the injured Matt Chapman has actually been able to move the line, hitting for north of 250. Now you need a few of these guys towards the bottom of the fold to be able to give you a bit more of something, as you had Daniel Johnson yesterday in the fold. He's been only hitting right around about the Mendoza line of 200. They've tried it out there. Patrick Bailey at the catcher spot. That's been a little bit of an issue. They had to just get rid of Lamont Wade Jr. because he was doing nothing whatsoever. And I mean, they had to cut ties with Luis Matos and send him down to the minor leagues as well. So you've had some ups and downs with regards to this lineup. And for the Boston Red Sox, obviously, they're not the same without Refael Dever, but I mean, they still do have Tyler Abreu, who's been able to give you 13 plus home runs this season. Abraham Toro has been good at being able to move line as he, Rami Gonzalez, Rob Revsider, guys that don't necessarily play every day, have been able to lose 275. Now you need to do something about David Hamilton, Connor Wong. They got the start yesterday. Both of those guys hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, and Marcelo Meyer is not really getting on base, hitting about a 200, but he has been able to give you a home run every about 14 or so at bat, so that's been pretty rock solid. Trevor Story, even though he's giving you a little bit of power, has been pretty useless, but for the Giants, this is the number 1 team with regards to bullpen area. They have been so dominant with this regard. You've got a ton of guys. They're able to supply a sub-2 ERA. How about what you've been able to get out of Camilo Duvall? Him looking like the guy that we all know and love. Eric Miller, Tyler Rogers, Randy Rodriguez, these have all been really good bullpen pieces. And then for the Boston Red Sox, Garrett Woodlock has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA in a bit of a long roll. Aroldis Chapman continues to be an ageless wonder, 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, sub-2 ERA. Greg Weissert has been able to give you some good production as well, but I do take a look at things, and I do think that both of these starters do them for a little bit of regression. I think that the Giants get to Giolito. I did set the money line of a -155 on the San Francisco Giants. If you're looking to lay a run half, right now I'm finding that at a +120. 128 at FanDuel. I was willing to go plus 127 or better, so just right there for that run line to go along with the over. And we have things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Slam Diego Padres are going to be playing against the Kansas City Royals. Seth Lugo is on the bump for the Royals, and it is one Mr. Randy Vasquez on the bump for the Padres. 8.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110. And for the Royals, they are minus 110 to minus 115 favorites, and between even money to minus 105 is the number on San Diego. And I did set the Padres at a minus 124. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. For Seth Lugo, he is doing for quite a bit of regression. While he has been able to rock a sub 3.1 ERA, feeling a pennant is right now hovering more on that neighborhood of a 4.53. He's given up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 as well. Now Randy Vasquez, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3.70 ERA, 5.34 fielding in a pennant, but that does go down to a 3.25 ERA when he is at home. He's been able to keep the contact down, and for the Kansas City Royals, they're dead last in the American League in terms of runs per game. You just need to be getting a little bit more power out of Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, for Bobby Witt Jr., it's bad for him. For anyone else, his start to the season will be pretty solid. He's been able to give the team a double-figure amount of stolen bases, 20-plus stolen bases, 340 on base, 10 home runs. You just expect a little bit more out of him, though. Vinny Pasquantino hitting at 270 with 11 bombs has been nice. And Miguel Garcia, he's hitting about a 320. He's been able to give you a little bit of pop. And then Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell, hitting between about a 250 to 260 is fine. But I mean, Jonathan India, 4 home runs, about a 325 on base. You just expected more there. And at the bottom of the fold, it's been mix and match. Jack Caglione was able to bust through for a few home runs a few days ago, but has not necessarily been amazing. What has been great has been this Royals bullpen, though. How about a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA? You've got the likes of Steven Cruz and then Carlos Estevez, Lucas Ursich, all give you a sub 250 ERA. Taylor Clark has been pretty good in this bullpen as well. And for the San Diego Padres, it continue to be a top 6 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Now, I will say Robert Suarez has been a little bit shaky in the closer's role over the last few days, but I am being able to get to him has been very good. You've had David Morgan be able to step up. Jason Adam, Yuki Matsui, these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You've had a little bit of hit or miss out of Adrian Morejon all season long, but he's been pretty solid. And with the Padres, it's actually been a pretty pedestrian lineup all season long. You do have a trio of guys, though, between 12 and 13 home runs. Gavin Sheets, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado. Tatis, 355 on base. Machado is now hitting above a 300. Jackson Merrill has been able to hit about a 300. He's been in and out of the fold, but I mean, the outfield spots with like Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge, and then the catcher spot with Martin Maldonado and company may have been a little bit of an issue, so it's been a bit of a top-heavy lineup, but in the end, I do think that the Padres do find a way to get the Lugo and get the job done. I did somebody told it at 8.3, pure at the 8.5, especially in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. I like the under, and I do like the money line of the Padres, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season. And that means I'm coming back at you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.